Wonderful morning, fantastic afternoon, an amazing evening. This is Carla from MindPlore with Carla and Friends, and today we are talking about miracles. Do you believe in them? Do you realize that every moment could be considered a miracle because we're breathing and we're on the planet? It's amazing when you begin thinking in those terms. I'm working on it. I'm not perfect at it. But every time we open our eyes in the morning, that's a miracle. Every baby who comes into the planet is a miracle. We don't know what's going to happen from moment to moment. So why don't we just enjoy the moment and let the moment be the miracle of the day? I am very lucky. It's Girl Power Tuesday, and I'm very lucky to have these women with me. I have Teri Angel, who hasn't been here in about 2 years, I believe. Mm-hmm. I have Shivali, who has been here pretty often from India. Teri's from the United States, and right now I believe she is in Texas. Shivali is from India and New Delhi. Gayathri is also from India, but she is from Mumbai, Maharashtra area. And Jeanne and I are from the United States. But it's interesting. She's on the West Coast, and I am on the East Coast. And believe it or not, I have never met any of these people in person, just online. I think that's rather cool too. Anyway, having said that, I am going to pass the mic to Jeanne, and Jeanne knows what to do, I hope.
Well, today we're talking about expecting a miracle, defining miracles, understanding miracles, and it's all things miracles. So I found a couple of really good quotes. One starting with Joe Vitale, who's a spiritual teacher, and he was part of the juggernaut we call The Secret. And he writes, "If you expect miracles in your life, then release any attachment to the outcome." In other words, if you really, really, really need something, understand that it's this or something better, as I was taught. So if I say, I want the sky to be purple and it comes out that it's azure blue, I should be happy because that's really where it should be. Now, I follow that with the great Albert Einstein, who people know him as an inventor and a scientist, but he was also very spiritual. And he wrote, "There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle, and the other is as though everything is a miracle." So it kind of sounds like the black and white of it. Either you believe in them or you don't, but I choose to believe. The writer of Eat, Pray, Love, Elizabeth Gilbert, wrote, "This proclamation of intent and entitlement is not something you can do just once and then expect miracles. It's something you must do daily." And that's a reminder that oftentimes our successes, our wishes, our miracles are 5% inspiration and 95% work. There's something to that, to setting up your life to accept miracles, to changing how you think, to allow miracles to come in. And then finally, Louise Hay, who is a motivational speaker and author, but she founded Hay House Publishing, which is a very big publishing house. She writes, "I find that as we really love and accept and approve of ourselves exactly as we are, then everything in life works. It's as if little miracles are everywhere. Our health improves, we attract more money, our relationships become much more fulfilling, and we begin to express ourselves in creatively fulfilling ways. All these seem to happen without even trying." which I thought was a beautiful way of explaining what Elizabeth Gilbert said about the proclamation of intent, but doing the work to get there. And the work, according to Louise Hay, is approving of ourselves exactly as we are, here and now in the present. And then we're open to seeing all the little miracles that we see every day. And I have to agree, because when as Carla said, you see them in different spaces, but when I see my little granddaughter, who's just turned a year old, walking across on her tiny little legs, and she's taught herself, she's worked so hard to be able to get up and stand and balance, and then take a step, and it comes with the fall down to pick yourself up, to keep moving. And now she pretty much runs around, and she's starting to do what my grandson did and climb over all the baby gates. It's a miracle to see how they progress. Well, we've seen that, we've experienced that, but we've forgotten. And that's when I look at defining miracles, I define it as remembering who we are. Teri, you're nodding your head.
Oh, yes. I'm loving everything that you're saying, Jeannie. I'm in total resonance with it and agreement that everything is a miracle. How can we not see it as a miracle when we think about the perfection of life and how we're even here? We even take a breath in, without thinking about it. All of our organs work without us having to tell them what to do. It's all miraculous. And to me, it's getting up in the morning and opening my eyes and seeing that there's another day for me. That's a miracle. Just the simple things. It doesn't have to be this huge explosion of stuff. Every little thing, when we consider it to be a miracle, we go into gratitude, and then there's more. The more that we're grateful, the more we're going to see more to be grateful for. And it is all about the intention. You mentioned that when we set our intention that we're going to see the positive, we're going to see the miracles, we will see them. I fully believe and trust that.
You mentioned a couple of things, but intention and gratitude seem like keys to this. So I just want, let's highlight that for our viewers, intention and gratitude as two keys. Gayathri, you're nodding away.
My entire life has been miracles. So when somebody talks about miracles and people say that, no, we don't believe in miracles, I often wonder whether they don't believe in miracles or they just want to find a reason to believe in miracles. We often meet people who like a scientific explanation for everything. But I believe that where science ends, that is where spirituality begins. Where trust ends.
Albert Einstein.
Yes, Albert Einstein said that, and I totally believe what he said. I also believe that where trust ends, faith begins. Trust can be broken, but when you have faith, faith is rarely shattered, because when you have faith, it is beyond happening of a particular event. Faith is often unconditional. Miracles, in my opinion, is something that happens when you have faith. Miracles are something that happen when you really believe in something and your mind is open to accept them. There was a time when I was not exactly a believer. A lot of things happened around me. They were miracles, but I missed out on them. I couldn't see them because I was constantly looking for an explanation. At one point in my life, I stopped looking for explanation and I just set out. Let's see what life has to offer. Let's see what divine existence is all about. And that is when I actually witnessed miracles, experienced them, and realized it. Walking on a lonely road through the jungles, not knowing anything. I was almost walking in a trap when out of nowhere, two people come in a very hush-hush voice that bring me down from that peak. We climb another peak, and that's when they inform me, those were foxes, they would have eaten you alive. That appearance of those two people out of nowhere in the middle of a jungle, which was supposed to be lonely, yeah, for me, that was miracle. They were angels sent by God himself. There are several experiences like these that I had before as well. But since I was looking for explanations, I didn't look at them as miracles. I just looked at them as something that happened, and I missed out on the joy. So I would say yes, miracles have a different charm. Just keep your eyes open, just keep your minds open and embrace them. Don't look for explanation, just embrace.
And I think you brought up a very important point. Miracles are happening often. And when those miracles are happening, we don't even realize it. We don't realize when we open our eyes, that's a miracle. We're still alive today. It's a miracle that we breathe and we don't think about that. It's a miracle when a baby is born, and yet that we may catch a little. But we don't realize the miracles that are happening in the world. And they're happening for everyone. Yes, Jeanne?
Carla, the fact that we are on a program called Zoom on a thing we call the internet, using devices we call computers, even laptops, all of that is actually miracles that we've come to expect every day. I recall going to work when I started my career back in the dark ages of the 1980s. And I was excited because I had an IBM Selectric typewriter that had the magic X key so that I could backspace if I made a mistake. That to me was a miracle. And little aside, I hated typing, but I had to do it every day. So that was a miracle. And then when they brought the word processor in, I jumped up with, I'll do it. I became the key operator because I wanted to control that machine. But we often don't take time to even notice the miracles that we use every day and take for granted. I mean, I'm meeting people across the world, halfway around the world. We've become Zoom buddies. And, 20 years ago, that would never have happened. Even 10 years ago, it might not have become Zoom buddies. So my point is that we're so attuned to miracles that we just accept as every day. I recall when I used to work in high-tech public relations, and they would come and tell me, we're going to be able to do this and we're going to launch it. And I would look at them and I'd ask them the question, what took so long? What was the problem you had to answer? And they would get frustrated, but I was trying to figure out, what was that spark? What was the thing that made it so different that we can make news about this? But literally I asked, what took so long? Because that's how we've come to expect things. Now that's the edge of technology. We expect it. And I'm watching kids as I'm teaching and I'm working with my grandkids who are growing up with cell phones and tablets, and their thumbs are so much faster than mine, but they don't understand the miracle that it is that we've got this. So that, to me, that's kind of a metaphor to understand miracles in general. I think it was the last conversation that we had on MindPlore where we talked about the human being being the biggest supercomputer that there is, but we expect it. We don't take time to be grateful for it. I will tell you, my mother had Alzheimer's, and when you're caring for a loved one who's going through that issue, and it's a debilitating disease, but you start to think about brain health, and it's not something we think about every day. And you need to be thankful that you have brain health and that you can think. And in our family case, that we had enough folks around that could take care of her. and we need to walk around every day and be thankful, as Teri had said, with gratitude, because we can. Because we can. That's really what a miracle is. It tells us that we can. You know.
And
Shivali sitting so quietly.
Shivali, what would you like to say?
Oh, lots have been said already, and I can connect to each and every word that has been spoken. I can feel the vibes and I can connect. Yes, Carla, what you said right in the beginning, that life itself is a miracle, right? And then others like Jeanne and Terry and everybody was speaking about it, that, you set your intention and belief, expectancy, and faith. These three go hand in hand. But yes, initially for many, to discover, as Gayatri was saying, that sometimes we are not aware actually. That awareness, any moment in our life can trigger that awareness in us. And once you become consciously aware, then you start inviting more and more of those miracles in your life. So that's how I look at this. And I can relate to it because, as Gayatri also pointed out a little earlier,
But yes,
for me also,
initially, and I can relate to it.
Excuse me, Shivali. Excuse me. Someone has their Facebook page open as well as their Zoom. You need to mute your Facebook when you're on the show. Otherwise, it begins all types of echoing, and we cannot hear anyone very clearly. So if you have done that, please echo it. Thank you. I'm sorry, Shivali, but that was very important. Go on.
yes. So, like I can connect to this because for me also, my life also has been a very long journey. And what Terry was saying a little earlier, inviting more of that positivity in our life. See, our scriptures have always mentioned about the miracles, okay, miracles of God, miracles of angels. And the most important thing is that without kind of logically trying to analyze everything, there are things which lie beyond our, so-called limited mindscape. We need to actually explore more and more. How we will do it as an individual, it's an individual life's journey. So I strongly believe in prayers. I have always prayed for myself, and Louise Hay is one writer whose affirmations, I've been doing since I think now 20 years. And her books were the ones which changed my life. Going through her books changed the affirmations, in all aspects of her life. What is this? This is again a miracle, right? So yes, I strongly. And what is important is not just about creating. You create miracles when you believe in them because they're happening all the time. So gratitude, therefore, is very important when you consciously, when you're writing down or expressing through whatever means you wish to, you're creating more of those miracles. And I strongly believe that we are co-creators. Like today, all of us are here. We are co-creating a very big, huge miracle today. So thank you, Carla, for this lovely show today and this lovely theme of yours. Thank you so much.
Okay, I think when we're talking about co-creation, which is important because we come together, and when we come together, then it moves even further. We also need to remember, and we forget so often, that every moment, even if it's not going how we think we wanted to go, it's going how it needs to go for us to grow and experience the miracle. And I think as we begin to do that more and more, our lives will become more joyful. I mean, I've been listening to people talk about the spiritual value for many, many, many years. And I am just really beginning to get it. So if anyone is watching or listening and saying, what is she talking about? It's a journey. And recognizing miracles is a journey also. And Jeanne, you look like you want to say something, or Teri?
Well, it is a journey, but it's more a journey of acceptance. And I like that you brought up co-creation, because one of the difficult concepts that I had when I started my journey was that I'm not in control of everything. Yeah, I was brought up to be in control, and I was told you are a leader, things like that. And as I became a manager of other people, I realized you can tell people what you want them to do, but you shouldn't tell them how to do it, because their level of creativity and knowledge will let them find the right solution for them. And that was a very difficult lesson to learn in my young career. So I started telling my crew, my folks, I would go, don't think of me as your manager, think of me as your coach. You would tell the coach if you broke your arm and you're the pitcher, because, it's a baseball analogy, but you got to get out there and pitch. And if you can't because you broke your arm, some decisions have to be made. So it made them more comfortable to tell me when there was a problem, so I could help them find the solution to the problem. But, I empowered them to actually go and do the job the way they thought was important. So when you bring up co-creation, it's the same kind of concept, where I was brought up thinking there's this being outside of me that's all powerful, that's going to make my life unfold and everything's going to be beautiful. And, when it didn't work out, it's like, why, woe is me. And then the spiritual teacher I was working with explained this process and how you're a co-creator, and you set your intentions and you do the work and things will happen. And, first I was like, no, that's not what I was taught. I mean, it took a while for me to go, oh, wow, I have a little bit more power than I ever thought, because I'm now co-creator. It's where I set my intention that is important. It's where I see and how I interpret that's more important. It's taking that, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, even 1 minute of time to take a deep breath and settle yourself and ground yourself. That's important. And I say it like, the meditation teacher's going, what? 5 minutes. Some people can barely sit still for a minute, so I tell them, take that minute. And when you're comfortable, then add another one, then add another one. And pretty soon you're going to be sitting for 20 minutes in meditation, and you're going to go, whoa, because that's how I had to do it. I could not sit still, but the person that I was working with told me that, like, anytime you're at a stop sign, take 3 deep breaths. And I got used to doing that. And then I remember a traffic issue where somebody cut me off, and I would normally be screaming, really, descriptive, let's say, things. And my son, who was about 3 at the time, he looked at me and he was waiting. I mean, it's a pattern. He knew somebody cuts mom off, she's going to say some things that she's going to tell me I can't say, but he looks at me, and I looked at him, and I smiled, and I said, there's somebody that needs to get somewhere 5 seconds faster than me. And he started laughing, and I started laughing. And that was when I went, the stress management that she told me about works. Oh my gosh. The stress management she told me about is actually that meditation she was telling me about. And look, it's working in everyday life. I became a calmer person. And it was that first step. So if I can say anything to anybody, it's take the first step. That's a miracle.
Yes.
And that's true. The first step is the miracle. The first, anything you do, the first time. Because the first time you're scared and you think, I can't do this. The first time we did MindPlore over 2 years ago, I'm wondering, why are we doing this? And then as time went on, I began to understand it better and better. And I still don't get it. There are times I think, why am I doing this? But it's taking that first step. People very often think, oh, I can't do that. They come to the English show and beautifully tell me, I cannot speak English, but blah, blah, blah. And they go on for about a minute. And I'm like, hey, what language did you say all that in? Oh, English. Yeah, you told me beautifully that you can't do it. Can you do it? And they look at me and they say, oh yeah, I can. We need to take not out of our vocabulary. And when we take that word not out of our vocabulary, the miracles begin to happen. When we think, I don't have enough money, yeah, you don't, because you're thinking that way. But it's still possible that everything you quote do not have, you really do have. Teri.
Carla, I was just going to jump in there because, I do get messages from the angels all the time. And one of the messages that I got was, when we say, I can't, we are really saying, I choose not to. So think about that the next time that you start giving an excuse of, I can't. What are you really saying? Because we're only limited by our limited beliefs. And a belief is just a thought you keep on thinking over and over again. So if you've convinced yourself that you're not going to be able to do something, yeah, that's your belief, but you're choosing not to do it. So I just love that you brought that discussion in, because I teach that to all the people that I work with, everybody that I talk to and, coach and counsel and listen to. It's like, let's stop limiting ourselves. Let's think about what is possible and not what we're thinking is impossible, because nothing is impossible. And I fully
Impossible means I am
possible.
But along with it, you brought back a memory of maybe a week or two ago, and I was somewhere. Actually, I was in a natural holistic doctor's office, and I was getting a massage, and I was asked to do something, and I said, I'm sorry, I just cannot do this today. And she looked at me and said, not? You normally don't use that word at all, but why is that in your vocabulary? And I was like, you're right, I can do this. Mm-hmm. And I shut up for a few minutes and we got it done. But
initially, for many,
I shut up for a few minutes and we got it done. Why are we echoing? Everyone, please close your mic and let's find out who it is. Jeanne, open up, please.
Did I get turned off?
No, I can hear you and there's no echo. Gayathri, open up, please. No echo. Shivali, open up, please. And Teri. Remember, I don't mind if you're watching on Facebook or you're doing something to get it out on Facebook. Make sure that you have muted it. Otherwise, we can't hear you. It's just too confusing. Okay. Who was talking?
I think I
Teri.
was.
I
Yeah,
want
can I just share, there's
Yes.
something that has really changed my life, and it's a teacher that I've just begun listening to over the last few months, and his name is Neville Goddard. You all may be familiar with his writings and his teachings. And one thing that he teaches us, if we want to manifest something, if we want to call something into our life or live the very best experience we can have, is to really feel it real, feel it in your heart, that thing that you envision having or doing or being, you already feel it in your heart. You don't wish for it. You don't come from the perspective of one of these days I will go out there and do whatever it is that's on my vision board to do. You already feel it, that you're doing it. So it's made a big difference in my life and in my confidence, is when I start to really know I am a co-creator. I'm the one with my words, with my thoughts, with my actions, my energy. I'm the one that's bringing that to me and co-creating my experiences with my higher self, my higher power. But everything happens in divine plan, but we have to do our part too. We have to believe, we have to have faith and trust. And when we actually feel it, that it's real, we're going to see the evidence of it. We're going to see the physical showing up of whatever that is that's coming to us. So I just
Yes,
wanted to
Teri.
share that.
Yes. This is called that complete visualization, using all your senses and experiencing that moment, you know, that helps to co-create. And you rightly pointed out that word, divine plan. And this is related to what Carla said a little while ago, aligning yourself actually. When, you feel that you want it in a particular way, okay, you set your intention, you're working on it with a very positive and an open mind. You have made that choice, yet you're leaving it to the divine, because the divine always aligns you with your divine purpose. You get aligned with your divine purpose. So maybe the paths could be a little, ups and downs, like the hills and the valleys, but ultimately you will reach your goal. And for that, we need to kind of, what should I say, surrender to the divine plan also. You set your intention and then you submit, so
and
that, you're always aligned on the right path with your divine purpose. So
yeah,
yes, very beautifully said.
yeah, that's why I pulled the Joe Vitale quote, expect miracles in your life, but then release any attachment to the outcome. And it reminds me of a silly joke that we sometimes say when we're talking about spirituality and stuff like that. Well, people always make plans. So it basically is like, do you know what God does when when you tell him you have a plan?
He laughs.
He laughs and he says, "Oh baby, I've got bigger ideas for you." Because we
Absolutely.
have no
I
idea.
have experienced that all my life. That has been my experience all my life. I plan something and God laughs and he's like, oh, I'm a better scriptwriter than you are. All I have to do is I just have to be prepared for something much bigger, much greater, and
Guy,
something I could not imagine for myself.
Gayathri, that's the t-shirt you and I need to design. God said, I have much bigger plans for you, something like that, because that's exactly, again, in the beginning of my, let's call transformation to adulthood, that joke was told to me. That's why I hold on to it. And I'm like, I don't get it. I was just trying to, make ends meet to raise my son. And, I was like, I got to do this, I got to do that. And this person told me the joke. And I was like, I said, I don't get it, because I had no way of seeing it. And it's when I started to see that I felt a shift that made me open my eyes and made me better in my job, better as a parent, better, all around, because I wasn't holding on to the outcome. I wasn't saying I know better. It's got to be this way or the highway, because there are things we just don't know.
Well, honestly, I have said that a lot of times. I found myself standing in the temple fighting with the God that you don't care about me, you don't care about my plans. You must be so happy that all my plans are shattered and stuff like that. But I think God and I are in a complex relationship, but God is the understanding partner over here. All my tantrums are taken in a very right spirit. And I just think that God just listens to everything I say and does whatever he wants.
Do you guys think that God really likes teenagers? Because that's what
I think so, because I tend to behave like a teenager even at 30 plus.
Yeah,
So God has to love teenagers.
That level of defiance I see in teenagers, and it's like we don't give it up. And it's when we surrender, when we say, okay, I get it. It's not surrender like I give up. It's surrender like I'm not necessarily in control of everything. And that's where the idea of co-creation comes in. I was brought up Catholic. So when you talk miracles, I'm thinking, Jesus changed water into wine and, cured somebody of the blind. These are big things. But I'm also reminded that in the scripture, he says, you can do this too. He's basically saying this is just a demonstration. You can do it too. And when that's very rarely called out when people are talking to me about the gospel, and I bring it up because that's so powerful in us going, oh, we can't necessarily see what we don't know.
Jeanne, there's this, but what you just said about the miracles by Jesus Christ, something connected to that happened here in our country. This was a small city wherein this girl was in her school and teacher was telling the story about how Jesus cured a blind man. So the story went that Jesus took some soil, put some water into it, and pasted that soil onto the eyes, and the man could see again. Now, this girl heard the story and she knew this blind person who had become friends with her. So she took the soil, she put water in it, and she went and just put it in his eyes. And he was like, what is wrong with you? And she felt so bad that, oh, I couldn't cure him, but teacher said it works. She goes back to her teacher and she tells the teacher that, teacher, I did that, but that man still can't see. In fact, it's hurting. He's more hurt because of me. And that's when teacher tells her that what is told in the story, it's not literal always. Over a period of time, you have to consider it as a metaphor. And she said, you can do this miracle. How about you collect donation to get this person a surgery that he needs? And the teacher gave her the first donation. And then she went collecting money. She collected money. And then she finally took this man along with her parents to a hospital. And the man could see after all. So did the miracle happen? From the man's perspective, most definitely it did happen, because maybe it was not the girl who conducted that miracle, but she became an instrument wherein the doctor could perform that miracle. Because ultimately, every time a patient walks out of the hospital, it is a miracle.
It is.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
It's about how we interpret it and how we take inspiration. We don't have to replicate the thing. We have to just identify that right emotion, that right sentiment, and right intention. And then we need to pave our own path to reach the destination. Not everyone can fly, not everyone can swim. Some people might walk, some might just take a train, some might take a car. The destination can be reached. It's just about how we find the path.
So true. Yes, Teri?
yes, I have a beautiful friend that taught me lose the how and get ready for the wow. When we try to control the situations, then we end up getting frustrated and throwing our hands up and saying, it's not going to work. I can't do this. We use that can't word. But when we stop trying to control it, it happens. The miracle does happen. And to me, that's the blessing part, is that I don't have to do anything. other than hold that faith and that trust and that belief. That's all, that's my job. And then just watch it unfold from there. But stop trying to control all of it, because really we have no control over anything, right? We have control over our attitudes, our thoughts, whether we're going to have a good day or a bad day. That's up to us. You know, we get up and we can make it the best day possible, or we can make it the worst day possible. It's all how we have our perspective each day when we wake up. And I choose to wake up in gratitude and looking at the sunny side instead of what might be going on that's, you know, the part of the darkness. And I want to keep in the light.
I think that
I completely agree, Teri. Yes, a let go. The concept of let go is exactly this.
Yeah.
That you, because otherwise, what happens? You know, our logical mind tends to interfere a lot. Let the universe take on. That's why we are co-creators. Yes, so letting go. I mean, this reminds me of that. You know, when you're flying a kite, you're flying the kite, and you don't hold on to that that line. You don't hold on to it in a very tight manner. You leave it very loose, and that's where the kite can soar high in the sky.
Yes.
So yes, this is very important in creating miracles.
so there is work involved, it sounds like, but the work is in changing your own attitude and allowing things to unfold, which can be harder work than anything else we ever attempt, because the ego mind really wants us to be in control. That's the fight or flight, that keeps us safe. But letting go to allow something bigger and better, it takes work so that we can balance what the ego mind really wants, which is control, shut it down, stay safe, to allow the other part of your mind to allow for the growth. So we might see something as being ho-hum when it's really a miracle, but we also might see the same thing as a miracle, even though it might be something that happens every day. Watching my granddaughter walk happens every day, but when I go and see her every week, I'm always amazed. Watching my puppies, try to communicate with me makes me laugh. I have this little guy. He looks like a miniature dachshund. He's a dachshund Yorkie. And I call him my beta dog because he doesn't try to push himself and take over. He will stand at my feet when I'm sitting in a chair. He'll stand there and just look at me with these big dopey eyes. And he's trying to say something. And I get it. And that's a miracle. I'm talking to another species, brain to brain, just having a good cup of coffee, having 5 minutes to yourself. There are lots of little miracles. And the one I really love is when I'm walking around and I smile. And I had a good friend goes, no, she's always smiling, talking about me. And I thought that was kind of interesting to overhear, but I smile at strangers. And I love it when they go, oh God, I needed that. I have no idea. I'm just smiling because, I'm shopping and I'm happy. And when somebody responds and says, oh, I needed that, I take a few minutes to listen to them, because obviously they need to be heard. They need to be seen. And that leads me to my next point. And that's sometimes a miracle is just being seen, just being acknowledged and validated that you are important. And that's a very powerful miracle for each of us.
And that miracle happens every day in some way or another. And we forget to look at it and see it as important because we're waiting for one particular person to say something, or we're waiting for a specific event to happen. But it's not the events in life that's important. It's being happy for what we have right now, right at the moment, whether it's something we like or something we don't like. If it's something we don't like, we're learning, hey, I don't want that, go away. But if it's something we like and we want to develop, we're going to say, oh, I'm going to think about that. But the problem is we get so involved with the I don't like that we forget to look at what we like. And that's when we stop thinking about the miracles. Teri,
Yeah,
God got my attention.
I wanted to go back to something that Jeannie had said earlier, way earlier in our conversation. I had forgotten I wanted to mention it. We take so much for granted in our lives that we do miss some of the miracles. And wouldn't it be great if we could just every day go into that day with an expectancy, with an awe, with just seeing things with fresh eyes, instead of maybe seeing, oh, that's always there. That person's always there. You know, maybe it's somebody that you're living with or somebody that you're around at work or something all the time. We tend to take people for granted that they're there instead of giving them that smile, acknowledging them, saying hello, really asking them, how are you? Instead of, you know, we've made that such a passive thing. How are you? You know, and not really expecting them to tell us how they are. But we have gotten to that place, and we need to just really turn from that to seeing each other again, really seeing each other and giving the warmth that's in our heart to each other. That's a miracle in itself, to be able to share that warmth with somebody. And, you know, one thing I have learned in working with and studying with Heart Math Institute in California is that all of our thoughts, our energy, whether we're in a good mood, a bad mood, whatever's going on, it affects the whole of everything on the planet, because our energy goes into that collective pool of energy that all of us are feeling. So we're either raising the vibration if we're up there on the higher level, the higher end, or we're bringing that down. We're actually contributing to the average of what's going on the planet. So each one of us matters. Each person, whether you're having a good day or a bad day, you know, we can turn that around in a heartbeat with our intention, with our conscious, mindful thought of what am I doing? Why am I in a bad mood? And just go into how you can shift that energy. You can shift it in a heartbeat, and just remembering that whatever you're doing, whether you're up there or you're down low, it's really contributing to all of us, not just you. So those are the things that I wanted to bring out, Carla.
And it's true.
Yes, Debbie.
We think it's only for us, but it isn't.
Right.
It's for everyone involved.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is for, I agree, it is for everyone involved. Carla, you recently shared this particular thing on Facebook, which is what I'm sure Shivali is also aware of that. In Indian culture, when we pray, our prayer goes something like this: Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, may all be happy. Sarve santu niramayaha, may everything auspicious happen to everyone around. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu, oh God, look for the well-being of everybody. Ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet, let sorrow do not touch anybody's life. That prayer is not just for me, my family, my parents, my children, my grandparents, my relatives. No, it is for the entire universe. It's for the entire human race. It's for the entire being, which is where the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam came. Vasudhaiva means earth, and Kutumbakam meaning earth is a family. So it makes a lot of difference when you utter these words.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to bring it to a contemporary issue right now. This idea of us being integral part to the whole world. Right now the news is talking about in the United States there's going to be inflation and it's going to be terrible, and they're talking about how in this country it is, but then somebody who looks at the world gave us data that this issue is happening everywhere. I'm going to say blowback. It's a result of the world needing to shut down because of the pandemic. And what I like to tell people when they start telling me that they're all crazy, I'm like, first of all, most of them are under 40, so they've never been through this. So it's frightening. And I'm not under 40, and I have been through this. So I say, take a deep breath. You can do this. We've all survived. You know, they use interest rates as a, you know, housing interest rates as, I'm like, I literally said to somebody, honey, when I bought my first house, interest rates were 3 times this, so it can be done. And they were like, really? I said, you take a step, you deal with what you've got in front of you. And when that's successful, that ripples out and people around you go, oh, I can do it. And they take a step. And we just keep taking one step at a time instead of letting the fear of what they, you know, the big they say, look at what you can do and beyond. I mean, I learned this process as a single parent when somebody said to me, how do you do it? You're working full time. You've got this child who's clearly a handful and you're doing all this volunteer work. How do you keep it going? I go, you put one foot in front of the other. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And to me, that was a miracle to be able to vocalize that, because if I had stopped to think about what I was doing at the time, I would have been totally overwhelmed. I would have probably, you know, gone into some sort of level of depression. It was overwhelming, clearly overwhelming. But what I learned was staying focused on what I had in my pathway, finding solutions and taking a step. That changed other people around me. And I didn't realize how much it changed other people around me until I pulled myself out for a reason that happened. I pulled myself out and I was looking around and it was like, people were like, whoa, what do I do? What do I do? And I was like, take a step. You can do this. Just like I did it, you can do it. So I'm watching in the world as we start to get into this fear mentality. And I'm thinking we can change that. Each of us can change that by saying, fear, talk to the hand. I'm going on with life. And crickets.
I always say, not today, not today. Nope. I'm staying in my high vibration today. And we do have that choice. And I love what you said, Jeannie, but you know, we do have that choice. We can get caught up in the spin, in the drama, in being told, yeah, you're going to have a hard time. Okay, well, it's my choice if I believe that. Or if I say, nope, not today. Today, I'm going to stay on my high, you know, and I'm high on life and I'm loving it. And that's what I choose to do, you know, no matter what it looks like on the outside world. I choose to stay in what I know to be true, that I am a spirit being, and I don't have to adhere to any of those rules of the human stuff that's going on with the drama and the trauma and the spin.
Well said.
Teri, I completely agree with you. Yes, we are spirit beings. Rather than getting caught up in the drama of the externals, it's the inward journey, actually.
Yeah,
Yes, I can connect with this very well.
yeah, I would agree. We are not social animals. We are spiritual beings.
Yeah, I just watched a movie, Cocoon. It was on last night. It's an older movie. If you haven't seen it, it's a cute movie. But the idea that that we are spiritual beings, I thought they did a great scene. The characters integral, there's senior citizens and it's a family, but then there's a group that are aliens from another planet who come back to save one of their own. And there's a scene where they let the humans know who they really are. And it's in a pool. There's the girl alien is having a swimming meet with one of the guys, and she literally unzips her human skin and comes out, and she's this ball of light. And I remember watching that the first time and thinking, wow, that really says it all. And then when I see it again 20 years later, I'm like, still has it. You know, it's like she unzips the human skin And she's this ball of great energy. And I use that a lot of times when I'm in my meditative state to just picture myself as that ball of energy.
Well, we are not these bodies. We think we are. But instead of the body being the shield, or so to be, our minds, our consciousness are greater than the body. And besides the body, because of this, the body is so much smaller and we don't realize it. We are much more than we think we are.
Here's a miracle. In the 70s, I know some of you weren't born yet, but in the 70s, they were holding home-based meetings to discuss and bring awareness to the idea of consciousness. We really didn't understand or recognize consciousness. And now it's part of our everyday conversation. That's a miracle.
It is a miracle. It's mindfulness. You know, the angels remind us all the time that we're only here for a minute. You know, when we think about what we hold to be important, these bodies, how we look, what we do, we're only here for a minute in the grand scheme of things. What are we doing with that minute? What are we focused on? Are we focused on what our purpose is for being here, which is our soul growth? Or are we focused on all of that spin that we'd mentioned earlier, you know, and all the ways that we can get caught up in the human stuff? So, you know, when you look at it like that, it's like, what am I doing with my minute? What am I trying to accomplish in this time that I have here? And I think when we do that, it all falls into place. We set our priorities when we start thinking along that line.
I had a very wise coworker back when my son was an infant, and I was going through that state of overwhelm that I discussed. And something happened at work that, anybody would have called a crisis. And I was upset. And she said, I want you to do something. And I said, what's that? She goes, I want you to get a picture of your son. And he was just a baby. And I handed it to her and she goes, I'm putting it up on your door. And she put it on the back of my door. And she said, every now and then I want you to close the door and I want you to look at that picture and I want to ask yourself, what will this mean to him in 5 years? And that put things in perspective. And I had no problem. Once she did that, it gave me words to be able to say to people, family first, then work. I have to go do this and you need to respect it. And then I'll get the work done. But that was my first step into understanding how to add perspective. And now when I talk to people, I say, let's go to 35,000 feet. Let's look at what's the big vision when you're not into detail. And I think every once in a while, whether we do it through meditation and prayer or going to a forest and sitting in the greenery or whatever it takes, for me, it's sitting next to a lake and watching the water lap, clearing our minds and allowing ourselves to look at the bigger picture and, take details away so that we're not in that scripting of the outside world, because each of us are important. Each of us are a miracle. Each of us should have no expectations to finding a miracle because we get up every day and we are a walking miracle. And we just haven't recognized it yet.
And I love the statement, you are enough. Very often we think, oh, I'm not enough. I need to be doing this and that and blah, blah, blah. But the truth is, we are enough. And with this, I hate to do this, but we have come to the end of an hour.
Well, that's why.
And it's time to begin to wind things down In fact, I am going to wind things down. We will be back on Thursday talking more about miracles with a different clientele or a different panel. But we also would like to know your feelings about miracles, and please feel free to write in the comments whether you're watching this on live or you're watching this on replay. And I want to thank Shivali and Gayathri and Jeanne and Teri Angel for visiting and talking today. And we need to wave goodbye now.
Thank you, Carla.
Bye.
Thank you.
Did you want to say something? Because usually you do.
Well, I just
Thank
want to
you.
I just want to remind people to like and subscribe. We're at Giggle Fest University on YouTube, and the more subscribers we can get, the more people will see this, and it helps Carla grow her audience. And also on Facebook, like the page, MindPlore with Carla and Friends, and share out the link as widely as you guys can, again, to get more people to hear this message and to grow Carla's audience a little better, because we can all help.
And I appreciate that. And again, we're going to say goodbye. And ladies, I'll see you on the other side.
Bye-bye.